when I was here the last time, I was talking about a version of Shakespeare on film that I had taught in 2006, how I used a wiki and a series of short writing assignments where they would use the wiki to discuss what they were going to present in the way of film clips and oral presentation. We had a series of these through the course. And I also talked about how I really wanted to be able to use film clips and to have downloadable film clips and films, the whole banana online, so that my students could do a lot of the work outside of class. And that's largely because we end up using a lot of class time to show movies. Secretly, I think that's why the students take the courses, because they can go and they can sit in a darkened theater and snooze and watch films for the month of January, and who can blame them? But I wanted to give them something more to do on their own time, and use the class periods for work with Shakespeare's text. The goal of the course, Shakespeare on Film, is it presupposes no knowledge of Shakespeare and no knowledge of film. Well, that's probably not true in either case, but I want them to learn to think about Shakespeare's text, and I want them to learn to think about how the film genre adapts, or film medium adapts text to what's essentially a visual medium, although people do talk and there is writing at the back of it. So what I am able to do with what John has arranged, and we are in fact going to send out a set of titles to be digitized and put on a server and downloaded.
Yeah, did you talk about this the last
just
time?
briefly, I just alluded to it, but it sounds like I'm really excited about this. You want to say?
You know, I don't want to interrupt the flow of your presentation, and I don't want to make other people jealous either.
No, that's really.
But we've got a pilot program with a service called CDigX that will allow us to digitize and stream feature-length movies. It provides the way we can do this is that it does something called DRM, digital rights management, that prevents the student can download the film, they watch it on their computer, they don't have to be connected to the internet to watch it. When the course is over, their ability to view it expires. That is how the company handles this. It's not a cheap service, but we are able to pilot this for free for the winter term, and I think we have another faculty member who is going to be doing it as well.
Just one.
So this is a challenging thing because I don't know what to do with it afterwards. But I got tired of saying no to Robin that we couldn't do this.
Persistence.
And so we tried to figure out a way, and this is what we've come up with, and we'll figure the rest out later.
Well, maybe we can use some of the money from the course. I mean, if it grows, well, probably not.
Fees.
Not
Not
lab
I have thought about lab fees as well, but we'll have that conversation another time.
Right.
It's important to get the experience first, and then we'll see what we've got.
Essentially what I want to do is have them look at film clips, compare film clips, and do some short writing. I will probably be using the Blackboard form of the wiki, although we have been using our own wikis, and I'm going to need Bob to teach me how to use Blackboard all over again. So that they can sort of talk about post their writings on the wiki, and they can talk about it. My plan is to have a series of short writing assignments coming out of these little film clip assignments, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and then out of them perhaps develop 2 short papers, so that they will be working essentially on possible paper topics and writing about possible paper topics from the very beginning of class. I share Andrea's concern. It's a very short period of time in which, for people to just think about the ideas that they're going to be presented with and do something about it. The rationale for short writing assignments, particularly ones that sort of become cumulative, is something that I've been working with for a long time. I used to teach at Trinity College in Hartford, and while I was there almost 20 years ago, ouch, Elaine Mayman, an early major figure in the Writing Across the Curriculum movement, came and gave a workshop to the faculty and talked about the efficacy of short writing assignments in place of things like fill-in-the-blank quizzes or multiple-choice quizzes. And one of my colleagues in chemistry actually substituted a single short writing assignment every Friday for his traditional and much much lamented 10-question fill-in-the-blank quiz. And he reported to us in a follow-up workshop that he felt that the students' comprehension of basic skills in chemistry had increased considerably by shifting from that fill-in-the-blank quiz to a short writing assignment every Friday. I have found that my students actually enjoy it because it's a more low-pressure kind of assignment. They don't always know what's coming. They just sort of, here it is, here's a piece of paper, write for 20 minutes. And the lack of pressure, I think, is, you know, is something they truly love, and they then can take the best of what they do and generate something out of it. I actually had one student in my Shakespeare class, not Shakespeare on film, but Introduction to Shakespeare, asked me if we could keep doing it. This is a first. I don't know whether he was, you know, do you really want that A that badly? You know, I wasn't sure quite what was behind it, but I've also used it in a creative nonfiction class, and that's their favorite thing of all, is the short writing assignments that we start the class with. So based on its general efficacy and its popularity, I decided that this kind of short writing assignment would be something I would want to continue, and I certainly want to be able to continue it in this film course. The question is, how do you deliver this off, you know, outside of class? And John and Bob put me onto a software called ScreenFlow, and I got my department to pay for it, $99. And I'm going to show you a demonstration of this a test that we did. Can you see that all right? Yep. And you can see it's a demo. There's me, and there's a screen. And we just took some random video off of YouTube. Bob helped me with this. And what you can do is have yourself in any part of the screen, if you want, or a talking head, taken from the eyesight camera. And you can also have something from the computer screen. So you have two separate images going at the same time. And it looks something like this. Here we have a guitar video from YouTube. And another guy who's talking, but not as loud as me. Right now I'm going to stop this by pressing.
Put your cursor up there.
Okay, you get the point. And so Bob and I got together to construct an assignment for the first short writing assignment. And I confess that well, it's not always good to confess one's vanity, but I did not want my image on the screen for a variety of reasons that day. So we did one without my picture. And what I want to do is go back and have still photographs maybe that I can put in, partly because I want to read what I'm assigning them. I want to make sure I get it clear. And the picture of me sort of burrowing my face into a paper is not terribly interesting to look at. So I think what I'm going to do is get still photographs for while I'm talking, and then they're going to look at a film clip and so on. We'll try it that way, but I may, who knows, I may not worry so much about what they're looking at when I am talking.
Hey Rob,
so what's the,
go ahead.
Sir.
What's the purpose of, so this would be like a replacement for you showing something in class and commenting on it at the same time. But bringing that to, okay.
Or having them do it ahead of time.
Okay.
And then having them come into class and then going from there.
So delivering the nature of the assignment in a multimedia way that you normally would do, but
yeah, so one of the things that short writing assignments enable is discussion. If everybody has spent 20 minutes writing on something, and then they come into class, I can say, okay, let's talk about this. And they all have something to say, and then we can move forward. It's actually a very productive way of getting them sort of jump-starting the class, something that's very useful to do when you've only got 3 weeks. I don't know how many of these I'm going to come up with, but this is the one that Bob and I came up with. The black is, yes, well, me not wanting anyone to see what I was doing.
In the two clips that follow, we will see one theatrical technique, sticomythia, employed in 2 scenes. Sticomythia is a term from Greek drama, which refers to dialogue in alternate lines employed in sharp disputation, characterized by antithesis, or a taking up of your opponent's words. In classical drama, it's used more often in anger and fear. It always raises the energy level of the scene. Here, Beatrice and Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing and Romeo and Juliet, in their play, are speaking in Sticomythia to different ends than classical drama. Both scenes reveal an intensity between the speakers. Notice how Beatrice and Benedict echo each other.
Good Signor Leonato, are you come to meet your trouble? The fashion of the world is to avoid cost, and you encounter it.
Never came trouble to my house in the likeness of your grace. My lord.
This is your daughter.
Her mother has many times told me so.
Were you in doubt, sir, that you asked her?
Signor Benedict, no.
If Signor Leonardo be her father, she would not have his head on her shoulders for all Messina, as like him as she is.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Benedict. Nobody marks you.
What, my dear Lady Disdain? Are you yet living?
Is it possible Disdain should die while she had such meat food to feed it to Signor Benedict? Courtesy itself must convert to Disdain if you come in her presence.
Then is courtesy a turncoat. But it is certain I am loved of all ladies, only you excepted, and I would I could find in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none.
A dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God in my cold blood I am of your humour for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me.
God keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face.
Scratching could not make it worse after such a face as yours were.
Okay, let me move it forward.
Hey, Rob, I have a question.
Yeah.
Bob, I don't know if when you guys were working on this, does this allow multiple audio or video tracks?
Oh yeah, you can stack them.
What I would just, I gotta just say, you know, what I think you want to do is you want an establishment shot at the beginning of these clips.
Yeah.
And I think the establishment shot is your picture. It does not have to be a moving picture.
Right.
But it is an establishment shot of your face.
Okay.
And then, you know, with the setup of here's what I want you to see, get right to the point, and then you play the scene. But then you want to be able to pause the scene while you have your own audio track talking about what we have just seen or what you want them to focus on. And I think it's that give and take between starting and stopping the clip and starting and stopping you.
Okay. Because we move on to the next thing that we do. I mean, we sort of did that, but not as flexibly as you're suggesting, which I think probably would improve it. It is the very first. If we go on a little bit, it's hard to move this. There's another black window where my face needs to be, and I tell them, okay, now look, here was Romeo and Juliet, and then at the end I say, okay, now you've seen them. What I want you to do is to, in so many words, talk about how the director has enhanced that Sticomythia. What has the camera done to show how that Sticomythia, you know, to sort of enliven it, to focus in on it. If you notice in this scene, he does a lot of interesting things with Beatrice and Benedict. He sort of cuts and moves the camera around them while they're talking, and they're full close-up when they're doing it, first one, then the other. And then slowly he involves the crowd, and you get the sense that there's a kind of performance going on between the two of them, and then he backs off, and we have this sort of medium shot of the whole group. In Romeo and Juliet, when they're doing their faces are right next to each other, and he swirls, Baz Luhrmann swirls around them, and they go all through it's very interesting how they do that, so that you get this sense of everybody being sort of tangled up with each other, which is exactly what the Greek idea is supposed to be. So that's what I had set this up for. But what I'm hearing you suggest is that I should maybe pause the clip sooner, and then go in and say, okay, here it comes, watch how they look, you know, but I don't want to say too much. I want them to really think about what the camera's doing on their own. What do you think?
I don't want to kind of interfere with their watching of the clip, but this assumes that they have had access to the full-length feature film online, correct? So this is your teaching moment. with them.
It's a teaching moment, yeah.
It's a teaching moment that they can have, that they can experience online that you would normally do face to face. Maybe you do both. I don't know. But I think if you start to experiment a little bit with the idea of kind of multiple audio and multiple video inputs, it's a little more complex editing.
Yeah.
So it does take some time.
Yeah. No,
but if you experiment with that, I think you could have a series of these sort of like poignant clips where we watch a little bit, you then pause it to give us what should we be thinking about, what should we be noticing, and then we watch the rest of it, or we watch it over again, and then maybe we write about what we have watched and you assess us about that.
I see. Okay, yeah. That
those
makes
kinds
sense.
of it's just a little maybe the coordination between the meta commentary that you're providing about a primary source, this film clip.
Yeah. This is a pretty primitive use of ScreenFlow. I mean, there's no question about it, and I like what you're suggesting.
It works though. I mean, it would be like having two parallel files, so one where it's all by itself so they can get the whole thing. I mean, I'm learning as you say this, and it helps if you were to break it up, if you want me to notice certain things, have something like this, doing that, and then perhaps you could assign, okay, watch the whole clip, then download this file and show me, and teach that part.
I think you're really close, because I can see what you're doing with both the audio, you're doing with your own still shot, you know, the YouTube example where you were sort of overlaying a running clip. What made it challenging is that people can't listen to two things at the same time. You know, so that if they watch that and then you pause it, but then you keep talking over it, or you have a still shot as the establishment picture of just who is speaking to us now.
Right.
That can start to create that time and space problem that online learning creates, because now there's context, there's a voice, a face, a presence, and people can make those kinds of transitions a lot easier because you've gone through the artifice of saying, here's your teacher now, here's what she's saying. People need that. When they're disembodied, you know, what we're doing right now, you just can't replicate online. So you have to fake it, and people have to buy into it. And I think you're real close. Yeah. It's just ironing out that sort of coordination that I think is
Oh, that's really helpful. I mean, it's as the way with so many online tools, you know, we just, I don't think we begin to understand how much we can do with them sometimes.
Oh, well, we're tripping all over ourselves trying to emulate what we're doing right now. And you have to accept that as an obstacle and a hurdle to be overcome when you're doing the hybrid course. They have to accept it as too when they sign up to take the course. And if we all mutually agree that this is artificial, but for the purposes of our self-paced learning, we're going to go ahead and live with it, then let's do some things that can help minimize that somewhat. And I think you're really close.
I think I actually think you already just did it by just teaching it to us. Because you split up into a couple of comments, the points that you wanted them to get across, and by doing that, here's the back and forth of whatever you're calling it. Stop, explain that, go on to the next thing, see how they pull out, but if the shot pulls out and there's some type of performance going on, stop, say that, and move through. But at the same time, I think if you give them the entire thing unedited or uninterrupted, they get the bigger picture, have them watch that first, then you go back and do the instructions, then pull out and do the assessment. At the end, they can go through both and be like, well, I didn't quite understand what she was saying. It came this particular part, they can go back and see that. So you've already done it. So actually, it would seem to me that if I were going through the exercise of trying to figure out what I was going to say, I would just watch it and be like, I'm going to stop here, this is what I want to say, stop here, this is what I want to say, keep a little timer going and just insert, think, that's script or verbiage.
And it's not like you're obliged to comment on the entire film. What you're doing is you're picking key points that you want them to understand and watch deeper or more closely than they have in the past.
And I actually think that would be easier if I was a student to have you be able to stop and explain to me what's not immediately obvious. Like, so you explained to me, what was the word you used?
Stickomythia.
Yeah, that word. So you explain that to me, you know, in a book or it's written down somewhere, and then you give me the film and I'm going to watch it and I'm supposed to pick out stickomythia. Is that how you say it?
Yes, sir. You got it right.
And so it would be very neat if you could show me the film and then stop me when I'm supposed to understand when there's some stickomythia going on.
So in that clip of Beatrice and Benedict, which I start at the beginning of the scene where, you know, people are coming and being greeted right before to sort of give a context for how the dialogue starts. So what you would have me do is maybe move the clip just so far, and just when the stickomythia is like about to start, I would say, okay,
I think so.
here we
Watch
have.
now. Yes.
Here I am. I'm going
Pay
to tell you
attention
something
now.
now. This is called stickomythia. Please pay attention to how these two are talking to each other. This is from Greek drama, blah blah blah, and then resume the clip and let them go. So it's a little more focused. I'm sure we can do that. I don't think. She said looking over it.
You got time to do it or not.
Looking at well, I don't know how many of these I'm going to do.
I don't think you have to do a lot. I
Just do
really
like
don't.
40 or
I
something,
think
the
if you
big
did
ones.
maybe 2 or 3,
Yeah.
you've established then that there's another way to watch film and also understand Shakespeare.
Yeah. I was thinking about no more than 6.
Well, I think Bob's right. I think there is a time issue that you're going to have to deal with. And, you know, this is probably not the last time you'll teach the course.
I hope not.
So,
I think it's
you know,
lots of fun, so.
and even if we didn't have the C digex for later on, you've got these teachable kind of learning objects now where they can go into where they've watched films in the past and view it, but then also still have what you're doing. I'm not trying to lay an exit strategy for myself. I'm trying to, I think what you're building is exactly what Chris is talking about in terms of that sort of wise guide view of something that we might never have figured out on our own.
Right, yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well,
I
that's
think
been,
we can move on here.
Thanks, that was really helpful.
That's pretty good.